You're listening to the Entourage Podcast, a podcast where we learn from those who've worked in the shadows of superstars, all while creating a spotlight of their own. Let's get started.
What's going on, y'all? It's Vannesia Darby, Randy C. Bonds, and JAVI, and we are the Entourage. Today, under the spotlight, we have a good friend of mine by the name of Brittney Oliver. I'm going to read her bio so that you know her receipts are long, but one thing about Brittney and I's relationship is that I actually read an article that she wrote, a blog that went viral years ago, and I DM'd her on LinkedIn and just said, hey girl, I see you. This is amazing. Thanks so much for writing it. She ended up moving back to the same area, around the same area that I was in, and we were speaking at the same event. And I went in and sat on her session, and since then we've just had a bomb friendship, and she's one of my go-to people when we talk about just dreams and entrepreneurship and marketing and PR. Brittney is that person who you need to have her number, or at least she needs to have yours. So she's always putting on for Black women, and just as a personal friend, Brittney, thank you for doing this interview. And I really hope that you all learn from her and learn how to reposition and reimagine what you all may consider failure and what you may consider a mistake, because Brittney is the queen of that. And it wasn't because she had the option to, she really had to. Her platform is called Lemons to Lemonade, or L to L, and she really does make lemonade out of lemons. So I'm gonna go ahead and read her receipts so you know who we have here, and then we're gonna jump straight into the interview. Brittney Oliver is a career and lifestyle freelance writer and content strategist based in Nashville. Over the past 3 years, Brittney has built her platform Lemons to Lemonade to help young professionals turn career obstacles around. Her platform is known for its networking mixers, which has brought over 2,000 professionals, entrepreneurs, and creatives together to turn life's lemons into lemonade. In New York, Nashville, LA, San Francisco, Chicago, and Atlanta, Brittney has changed lives. Her mixers have been supported by PayPal, BuzzFeed, Verizon, Bumble, Dove, CoverGirl, I told y'all the receipts are long, Jack Daniels, and Ciroc. While building Lemons to Lemonade, Brittney worked as a senior digital marketing and email marketing manager while contributing as a writer to Fast Company and Essence. She has spoken on a variety of panels, sharing her story of going on 100 interviews in an 8-month period to giving workshop-style presentations on how to build your brand and expertise. She keynoted LinkedIn's first Women of Color conference in San Francisco in 2019, and Forbes listed her as one of 9 Black women leaders dedicated to empowering others. Brittney holds a bachelor's in public relations from Howard University. After living in NYC for 7 years, Brittney recently returned to her hometown of Clarksville, Tennessee, to grow Lemons to Lemonade nationally. All right, y'all. So grab your pens, get your notes app, get your paper, get whatever you need to do, and welcome under the spotlight, Brittney Oliver. Thanks for being under the spotlight with us on the Entourage Podcast.
Thanks for having me. I'm so excited.
Yeah, so Brittney, y'all, in case you didn't know, I know you heard her bio, right? But Brittney is the pitch queen. She is the diversity and inclusion queen. She's the curator of experience queen. We have a running joke, and we say, if you're not on Brittney's list, like, you need to get it together. Brittney's list, you need to get it together. So I want to kind of delve into your story, and then for our listeners, especially those who are interested in writing and curating their own experiences, leaving some gems for them so that they can figure out how to do what they need to do and carve their own path like you have created. So I want to share with listeners, first of all, my own personal testimony. I know this interview about Brittney, but I got to come in here, right? So I met Brittney on the internet because I read a blog that she wrote, and it was called, I went on more than 100 job interviews in 8 months. Here's what I learned. And Brittney, I don't know where I found this article. I don't know where I found it, but I remember DMing you on LinkedIn. And at the time, I think I was just starting my business, but I didn't launch it yet. And your blog just spoke to me. So I really want for you to share a little bit more about that blog and what inspired you to even write that, because that's crazy.
Yes. So that blog really just, I see the impact that it had on so many people, but it also just changed my life so much. So that That article actually was originally posted on Levo.com. Levo does not exist anymore, but Levo was a, I guess, a content hub, a media outlet for women millennials to help, navigate career, right? So it's career content for millennial women. And I always admire that platform. And I noticed there just wasn't a lot of conversation, especially around career, that impacted Black women, right? And so at the time I was writing for Essence, and I was looking for another way to kind of just share career content. And I had someone that I used to work with back in the day. She became an editor for Levo. And so I reached out to her and said, I'd love to contribute. And so when we had a phone call, that was my first time really like pitching. My relationship with Essence was a little bit different. So I didn't really have to like go out there and seek pitching. And I think we'll talk about a lot of that later. But this was my first time kind of jumping out of my comfort zone and really the beginning of my freelance writing career. And so I'm on this call with this colleague of mine who's now this editor. And we're trying to think of like different topics that I could write about. And as we're just talking, I told her about my journey, my experience, during the time that I had met her. I had never really shared it. She didn't know I was going through that when I met her. And she was like, wow, Brittney, have you ever thought about sharing that? And I was like, I don't know.
Y'all can't see Brittney's face, but she just made like a face. Just so y'all know.
I was like, I don't know. I'm not sure. I'm not ready, because up to that point, I carried a lot of shame about that job search. But if I share this on this platform, this is like open for the world. And I was slowly starting to get rid of that shame, that embarrassment that I had from that difficult job search. But my biggest worry for that, sharing that, was what would employers think, right?
Wow. Okay.
Past or future, will this be negative? But something in my spirit just felt like I just need to share it, right? Because it's my truth, it's my story, and I think it could help people. And so she encouraged me to share it, but turn it into something positive by sharing tips, like lessons that I learned through that experience. And so I wrote it out, and it was just so therapeutic. It was a nice release, like things that I had that I never really shared with anyone, on like how I felt. They published it, and to my surprise, it just took off.
Spread like wildfire.
Blown away. I didn't know how much it was going to resonate. And then I didn't expect them to put the title the way that they did. And I said, oh yeah, this is click work.
Okay. Oh yeah, no, it definitely. I was like 100 interviews in 8 months, So what was some, I know personally the feedback that I got from, or that I sent to you, it was very much so like, girl, you too. And I hadn't got on 100, but I think at that time, like I said, I was just starting Moxie. And when I did, I started it when I was coming out of grad school. So, there's two paths you could take when you're graduating. One is to get a job. Or the other one for me was to nurture this budding business that was coming, right? So, and how old, around what age were you when this was coming out? Like when you were starting your job search, like mid-20s, late 20s?
Oh yeah, right after college. So yeah, 22, 23.
Okay, yeah. So that's prime time, for the rejection to sink in. Rejection to sink in. So like I said, I know the feedback that I gave you, but what's some of the feedback that you got from that? Because it went everywhere.
Yeah, so it was mixed. But the positive feedback was like you shared, me too.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going through this too, or I'm going through this now, or I went through this and I wish I knew you then, or I wish I had this then, because, or thank you for sharing, this was brave, or wow, this was so inspiring or encouraging because I'm about to embark on a job search. And so it just seemed like it was timely for a lot of people. And it revealed to me that there was just so many people going through this. And I'm like, wow, just imagine if I had like not carried that shame around that and I talked about that experience, how many people could have helped me, right? Or who I could have helped. We could have had like a little support group going on, because you're not alone, right? And I felt so alone in that. And other people who commented, they said they felt alone until they read that article. And that meant the world to me, that they no longer, that boundary, that wall was broken from reading that. And now they felt, okay, if she can overcome that, I can too, or I'm not alone in this.
Yeah.
And it's just,
I was going to say, I think that's a big thing as creative people, or even people that are in whatever industry. It doesn't have to be the entertainment industry, but this sense of community, you know, of feeling like you said, you're not alone. One thing, again, I know Brittney personally, so I'm going to weave in some personal stories. One thing about Brittney that I love is that she's able to match people together with like interests and just like attitudes. And so when you go to any events that Brittney curates, you really feel like it's a community. Like you walk in, they're like, hey girl, I didn't know you knew Brittney. You know, so I love that. And I think that we overlook that sometimes, especially now with the pandemic. Sometimes, you know, people they have their head in the sand because this is an opportunity to grind and to get things done, but nobody makes it by themselves. You know?
No, not at all.
Yeah.
And I remember going in to the job industry, or just my industry in general, thinking that this journey was alone, because
really,
up until, I did, because I don't know, maybe it was because I'm an only child.
Okay.
So I do things alone. Like
solo dolo.
I'm solo dolo. And, you know, I never really felt like people were helpful.
Okay, we're gonna skip the questions for a second. Let's go down here because I want to dig this up. Okay, so Brittney, you came from the PR world, right? So like I know that was your bread and butter, in the sense of like that was the North Star that you were following, was going to publicity, press, and everything like that. So in that world that leverages relationships, you know, what do you mean when you said that no one really helped? You know, was it just in that work experience, or are you just talking about throughout, you know, life? Let's dig into that.
So it wasn't the work experience, it was leading up to the work experience.
Got it. Okay.
Like in school, education, I really did feel like I was kind of on that road by myself. Like peers didn't really understand the goals that I had, not even my teachers. Sometimes I remember I felt like I was on a road alone, even for like the college search. My advisor senior year, I remember she kept saying, I don't know how to help you get to Howard, get to any of these, get the scholarships to leave, but I can get you at Austin P. And for those who don't know, I'm from Clarksville,
shout out to
small town.
That's where people from. Me and Brittney cousins in real life one day.
I know, right? But people didn't know how to do anything outside of that community.
Yep. Yeah.
And if I didn't have like parental support in that push, like we went to college, we went in spring break, they bought flights for me to go and tour. If I didn't have that, then I would have just probably been in Austin P or somewhere local.
Right.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Right.
the teachers, nobody really could see the vision. They didn't know how to get me there. So again, I just felt like I was on that road. Once I went to Howard, it was a different support, right? But the landscape is competitive. So you have community, but you're kind of against each other. I don't know. It's weird competitiveness. Like I never seen that many Black people fight to be on the 4.0 row. Like literally. Like it's kind of like
shout out to Howard
with us. Like I never it was crazy. And so you have that healthy, I guess, competition. But in competition, you kind of alone, right? It's kind of you coming through my neck, girl.
Right. Like we friends, but we not. Which can also translate into work. You know what I mean? Like there are people that you brush up against that there is a healthy competition. You know, there are people that's like, okay, how much did you get for that, influencer budget? How much, and so you kind of tiptoe around the competition sometimes, but I think it's healthy. I think competition in and of itself is healthy. But this whole thing, and I'm getting the title and everything for your message as we're talking, because this whole thing about creating what you don't see and also building a community around it is crazy. Like how did you do that? Let's kind of segue into L2L and just what Lemons to Lemonade is and what it does for people. Because I think all of this was like a precursor to that.
Awesome. So L2L starts with that article that you mentioned earlier.
Okay.
From those comments and just the reach and the outreach back, the feedback, there was the community. I started to see so many people saying, I wish, do you have more content? Do you have this? Are you in New York? Can we meet up? And so that was the birth of it, the start. I was just like, wow, there's not enough, one, career content. Two, there's not a lot of people being authentic about their careers. Three, and there's not enough content that impacts Black and brown people. It's not a one size fit all. It's not. When we come into the workplace, it's a whole different experience.
Yeah.
So, I was tired because we talked about, I felt alone, but in public relations, it's community, right?
Right.
In public relations, networking is king. And so I was going to these events and these networking opportunities and these panels, and I'd see these all white panels and people saying these things. And I'm sitting here like, but I've done that. And so there's a barrier that I'm hitting that none of y'all are addressing or being honest about. So I'm taking notes because I knew that networking and access were key, but I'm taking notes because I'm like, I'm feeling left out. So combined with all of that, I said, it's time to build something, right? So I started.
Let me pause right there because I want to paint this picture for people. What was that feeling that that you knew that you had to be the one to create it? Because it's one thing to notice that there's a gap in the marketplace, but there's another thing to say, I'm going to be the person that creates something to fill that gap. What called you to it?
I just had this, I couldn't sleep at night. It was kind of like, I kept thinking about it and I was scared. I'm going to admit, I had the thought around it for a while and I kept just like tiptoeing. I would go to brunch and meet up with friends and they're like, Brittney, you've been mentioning this. So when are you going to
come on, accountability?
Yeah. And I'm like, I'm scared this is going to happen and I can't afford this, especially with the events.
Yeah.
I wanted to do an event. That was the first idea because the networking, I was tired of how that looked. I was tired of, and I was meeting a few people in networking spaces that said, I hated this because I felt like I wasn't enough, like imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
Because New York networking, entertainment, media networking is
you
a
already
beast.
know.
Y'all know how this is.
You already know.
So sometimes people won't even get your name before they won't get your name. They really want to know what you can do for them. So where you work,
Right.
if it doesn't align, it will
Woo!
turn around. And that happened to me.
That happened to me too.
Right? It's
Yeah.
like, dang, you don't even
It's
want to
like,
know my name.
I'm not even valuable. I remember I was at a client's event and I said I was there. They said, who are you here with? And mind you, my client was the one sponsoring the event, like everything, step and repeat, everything. They just invited me because I was a consultant on the project. And the person came up to me and said, who are you here with? I said, oh, I'm here by myself. And they Brittney, literally turned around and walked away. Like, did not say bye, nothing. It's like, I said, now I done talked to every person from the admin to the VP. You might want to watch how I work this room before you just dismiss me. But I've experienced that for sure.
And it's very dismissive. And it's like, at that point, now I have Essence under my belt, right? Mm-hmm. So I know what it's like to network pre-Essence and after. Mm-hmm. People change up. They come, yeah. And I remembered the ones who gave me the side eye earlier. And then now they're lined up, right?
Right.
Oh, she's at Essence.
Right. Right.
You know,
let me see their email.
Skipping. Yeah. Like I have a circle of people around me. Yeah. And I'm just like, I don't even know how this is happening. I'm just here, you know.
I'm just here. So, okay. So you create the first event. And so I want to, again, paint the picture for you all too. Oh, go ahead.
Well, it wasn't the event first, because if you know me, you know that I get in my head. Mm-hmm. And I'm a strategic. I try to be strategic.
She is very strategic.
So I was like, I know how events were run, and I know you need money, but I also know you need people to come.
Yes.
And so for me, I was like, let me focus on the content first. So from that article and the comments and stuff where I said, oh, there's community here, and people are like, where can I get more? So that's when I launched BrittneyOliver.com and the Lemons to Lemonade blog /newsletter. So I started with that, and I was able to grow my subscriber list. I said, okay, I feel confident about this. People are opening the newsletter, they're reading, I'm getting feedback, I'm building, I'm growing community offline, you know, off like a LinkedIn or Twitter, and now I'm collecting. So now I feel a little bit more comfortable in doing an event. I have data, you know.
Come on with the numbers. we love a good spreadsheet over here on the Entourage podcast. Okay. Come on.
And it just could help me, you know, find partners to help with this event, because I New York, had my own place, but I was broke, right? Literally. And so I'm like, I want to do this event, but I don't really have the money to do this. And I know sponsors are particular. And so I got on a phone call with a friend, and she's like, Brittney, you've been talking about this for a while. Let's go. I'm going to help you. And she does events. So we mapped out everything that I would need. And I thought about my network, and I said, well, I can ask so-and-so for this, and I could ask so-and-so for this. And I was like, I would like to pay my speakers, but I don't know about the first event. And then she was like, some people might do it. We'll see how it goes. And so she was supposed to help me, but she kind of like disappeared. We separated our task, right? And so by the next day, I secured a venue, solidified 2 speakers, and got cupcakes. And she kind of disappeared. And so I was like, well, I've already started. I've got to finish it. And so,
wow, because you've done stuff alone. You've done stuff alone before. Okay, yeah. I understand how this works. All right.
And so I'm not going to back out now. And so, and mind you, this venue is BuzzFeed, New York City.
Okay. So you just, I'm just gonna go to BuzzFeed. Is that kind of was like, how did you finesse
No,
that?
I just thought about my network,
Oh, okay.
and my really good friend worked at BuzzFeed, and
Perfect.
literally, I think the week prior, she was talking about how she had access. I think I had lunch with her.
Okay.
Literally, yeah, that week before she invited me to lunch at BuzzFeed, and she was like, "Yeah, I have access to. I just have to like book it, and I have access to all these rooms." And so
I
I was
wish y'all
like,
could really hear what Brittney's breaking down right now. Okay, like I'm trying to refrain from jumping in because I want you to tell your story, but I'm like, oh my God, it's so good.
I hope y'all are following me because I'm saying it the way I'm saying it because I'm trying to get you through my thought process here.
Yes.
So I'm like, how do I utilize the network that I've built, my friend network, colleagues to help make this thing work? So yeah, just had lunch with her. So then I was like, let me ask her then, since she said that she has access. So BuzzFeed New York, first event. Wow.
Right.
So that's going to help, right? Also attract new
Mm-hmm.
people to the community.
Mm-hmm.
Then because now I have this cool venue, helps to get the speakers, right? And the speakers were on board just for the mission
Mm-hmm.
because
Mm-hmm.
they understood what I was trying to do.
Mm-hmm.
And then I reached out to like a cupcake place because I love cupcakes. And I had wrote about them on the Lemon Lemonade blog.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember they were just so happy about it and they like reposted it on their stuff. So I said, well, let me reach out to them since they liked what I wrote. And so she decided to do lemon cupcakes for me and appreciated the mission. And then I got Skinny Girl to donate tea,
Mm-hmm.
like sparkling water and teas.
Mm-hmm.
I was trying to get that wine, but
I was
there
gonna
was
say.
some complications, but they were like, well, we could do this.
Okay.
And I think I got that contact through Essence because I had worked with them on an event when I was in house. So utilize that. And then right at the like literally like a day or two before the event, another homegirl of mine was like, oh, do you need liquor sponsors? Because I just worked with Mix, Mona Scott Young, Mix, you know, the cocktail thing, Mix Moscato. And I was like, yes. And so she was like, she gave me that, she did the introduction and they delivered it the next day. And I was like, wow. So closed mouths don't get fed.
Preach.
Right?
Preach on it. Yeah.
And
but
so
also having something of value too. I think that, you know, like you said, you had the data, you already you had your newsletter, like you already had the post that went viral. What you did was really you maximize on an opportunity, but you did it in a way that sponsors could understand and not just, oh, I want to sell you my dream. No, here's the data to back up and there's sufficient evidence that proves my point why you should sponsor this event. And that gives you a different level of authority than just going in and saying like, oh, I think you should support Black women. I do. Additionally, here's the data to support that. So when you go to your constituents, you can speak intelligently about it.
And people can buy in, right? And you'll be surprised how many people get told no just because of their ask and what they didn't present. And so I'm so glad that I didn't just jump and say, oh, I'm just going to have an event. I was strategic in trying to build, like I needed a website. I was like, I don't want to have an event and not have a website. I didn't want to just be on Instagram, right? I wanted to have a newsletter, another forum to communicate and build community. I just, you know, this was before Slack and all of those things. So newsletters were the wave.
Popping.
They still are. And so I felt like that was valuable and it's been proven to be valuable ever since.
One thing I wanted to ask you as well is, so you're doing this event, right? And people show up, which I know they do. You also, one thing you do very, very well is that you typically get a videographer or photographer. And I think that people don't do that, or they don't. And you also do event recaps, even like for yourself. How important is that, to even capture the moment, not just while people are there, but to say, hey, here's a professional snapshot of what we did.
So there's several reasons why that's important. One, I'm pulling my marketing PR hat on for the first point. People buy into your content, right? They like things that look good visually. And so if you could tell the story from your website, from social media, and make it look good, people will buy into it, right? So they're going to come. Sometimes they don't care. They don't even know who's speaking. It doesn't matter. They're like,
FOMO.
ooh.
It's that FOMO.
Yeah, it's like, oh, I missed out on this. And look, I know so-and-so who went, and man, it looks like a good time. And oh, Black people coming together.
Period.
Harlem?
Right.
Period. I need to be there. Black people coming together in Nashville. What?
Right. LA.
And it's like, who is this? Right. I need to follow. So like the look of it.
Right. And notice how she said people buy into content. She didn't say people buy into followers. People may be intrigued by your following, but they're going to buy in and actually do the calls of action that you ask them to do because your content looks great. And really you're creating an experience online that they missed offline.
Yep. Yeah, because I started the Instagram page when I had my first event, just so I can have somewhere else to put the content.
to put the content.
So I didn't pitch the sponsorship or the idea of having this Instagram to back me up, right?
I love it.
I had my personal one, and I don't even think I had 1,000 followers at that time. So like you said, it's not the followers, right? It's the content. And then my authority in the industry helped.
Yeah.
So my marketing PR hat, that's why photos, videos are important. The second thing for the sponsorship hat is ROI. So
return on investment.
Yes. So when you're dealing with sponsors, partners, and even sometimes the speakers, right? They want to know that there was a return on their time, their investment. And so they like to have recaps. They want that content because they use it to go and share with the larger team. This is what we did with these dollars. This is how we're impacting.
Yep.
And that's how their receipts, right? There's their internal receipts. And so you help them look good. And so having that video, having those photos help. And that also helps them return as a partner, as a sponsor, and even speakers, right?
Recurring sponsorships.
Yeah, because speakers too, and I know, Vannesia, you've spoken at different places. You like to have that video and those pictures because you can utilize that, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Absolutely. That helps to market yourself. But depending on what type of speakers you have, that also helps to amplify your event because they're going to post and cross promote and whatever.
And tag photographers and people who understand marketing. And even as a speaker, you know what the game is, right? And so you understand if somebody gives you a high resolution, crispy photo that you know is perfectly sized for Instagram, and they say, do this handle, do this hashtag, that's what you do. It's an exchange of your platform for their platform, essentially. Your page for their stage. And so you want to make sure that you're showing love to people that show you love. And so you know what it is. Like, and who doesn't love nice photos?
Right.
While you're doing your thing. Like, absolutely.
And it's so amazing. Like sometimes even though from that first event, those speakers, those partners, later down, it's reusable, right?
For sure.
So you might be minding your business in 2021 and they repost or reshare, this is what I did, or this was my first panel, or we really love working to amplify people of color at this event, Lemon Lemonade, and then they repost. And so that's new eyes, reusable content. And so for ROI purposes. And then lastly, just as a founder of an organization, if you're owning something, you just want to have that material to use.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I love it. Y'all, I'm gonna cut this short because y'all need to pay Brittney for the rest of this stuff. But but I want to say I want to wrap this up with a couple more questions.
Mm-hmm.
Now, one thing about you that I know, especially being a writer and getting all these features and everything, you also spotlight women and women of color in the platforms that you write for. So how do you separate an opportunity for yourself, an opportunity for Lemons to Lemonade, or an opportunity for another person that you want to spotlight? Like what's the meter that you have? I think a lot of people nowadays, we can promote people, but we also like, oh, well, this may be an opportunity for me too. So what's your ticker to let you know what's for you and what's for someone else?
Honestly, I thought about this and I feel like all of the opportunities work for me, benefit me, even if I'm amplifying someone else. And the reason why is that
that is such a good answer.
Yeah, no, like when you amplify other people, you're amplifying yourself. And for me, as a content creator, as a writer, it comes back for me, right? So in terms of articles, if I'm writing and I get the opportunity, like, hey, Brittney, can you write about 4 women doing this, and this? And I pick the different women. Sometimes I don't get to, but sometimes I do. Mm-hmm. And I write about them. The ways that it also benefits me is that 1, my name is in the byline.
Hello.
2, at the end, or if you click my byline, there's a blurb about me. So you'll get to learn more about who I am. Mm-hmm. And I get those clickbacks, right? Mm-hmm. It goes back to my website. So that helps. Second thing is that most people respect, I don't know, I feel honored that it's gotten to the point that people are like excited to have an article written by me.
Yeah.
So I get a level of respect in that sense, mm-hmm. to the point that when that article comes out, they amplify it, mm-hmm. and they tag me. I'm not left out. Mm-hmm. And so that's another benefit, is because now they've identified who wrote that via mm-hmm. their social media. So I get some followers from that. Mm-hmm. And so I don't do it for that, right. But it comes back around because now that work is being amplified. So all of it, it's like an ecosystem, right? Mm-hmm. That saying, I know it might be cliche now, but when they said women supporting women, women empowering women, it's an ecosystem. When we help each other, it comes back around. You don't have to, there's really room for all of us to eat. It really is when I say that. You just never know. But that moment, that act of kindness, that moment when you identify, maybe this isn't for me, but I can share this opportunity with someone else. Mm-hmm. Let's say it's a podcast interview, and I'm mm-hmm. like, I don't know if I'm the right fit, but I'm going to ask my homegirl. Mm-hmm. Your homegirl might just plug you in. They right. might just shout you out just in the
right.
interview.
Right. Right.
You just never know. Or someone finds, oh, okay, well, I'll find a different opportunity to work with you. You just never know. But another saying that I really love is, what's for you won't pass you. And when opportunities come and it may not align, it's okay to say no. And it's okay to plug another woman in, because the one that's for you is right around the corner. You just made space for the right opportunity to come to you by saying no.
Oh my goodness. All the feels. No, it's true. Like, it's true. Even in our relationship, you know what I mean? Like me saying, hey girl, I appreciate what you've done, and then us meeting at an event and, me just going to your session because I was just going to support. I was like, hey, I haven't met this girl. I see she's speaking. I'm going to go see, and so that has turned into all of this and even these gems that you just dropped on the Entourage podcast. So we thank you for everything and the space that you're creating, Lemons to Lemonade, all of the words that you write, all the bylines that you have. And I personally thank you as my friend because we have these conversations all the time. We're just not being recorded. So we let y'all in on a little something. We always talk about it at lunch, okay?
Y'all were flies on the wall for real.
But I do, and look, go ahead and plug your social media. We're going to have it in the show notes too, but let everybody know who's still listening on the headphones where they can find you.
Yes. So you can find us on BrittneyOliver.com or L2lmixer.com. So the 2 is the number 2. And then on social, you can find us at lemons_2_lemonade or BS Oliver.
And once again, all of those are going to be in the show notes. So if you're listening on Apple Podcasts or on Spotify or Google Podcasts, go ahead and click that little down button. It's going to be all in there. All right. But thank you so much for hanging out with us today, Brittney, and all the best to you, my friend.
Thank you so much for having me. This was so much fun.
I told y'all at the beginning, did I not tell y'all to get your pens, your notes app, and everything you needed to take notes? Because Brittney just took y'all to school. Like I said in the interview, you're going to have to pay her for the rest. But she does have a plethora of resources available online. Go ahead and hit the show notes, and we put all the stuff in there. So I hope that y'all enjoyed that. Please follow Brittney. She does drop workshops and different things. She's very, very active online, and she brings people with a really, really diverse perspective onto her platform. So we hope that you learned something from Brittney's story. Again, reposition those perceived failures, y'all. Make sure that you know how to turn your own lemons into lemonade. As always, if you enjoyed this episode, make sure you leave a review. And like all the people on YouTube say, like, share, comment, subscribe, all that. Okay, tell a friend to tell a friend. Season 3 of the Entourage podcast is here. You can always follow us on Facebook and Instagram at the Entourage podcast. And we'll see y'all next time under the spotlight.